Look, I'm a big fan of horror, especially where you take something cute and round and put it next to a horrific monster covered in eyes and teeth and lurking at just the edges of the screen. It's the contrast between something cute and easily recognizable next to something so complex and so far from human that we can't help but fear it. I'm a big fan. But there's something so specific and so tangible about Satoshi Kon's work. It's horror, but a human horror. It's psychological horror. Kon's work is full of psychological horror elements based on the shortcomings of reality. Whether it's a criticism of fan culture, a dream gone feral, a violent scapegoat, or the cruelty of homelessness in Japan, Kon's really going to make you feel it. And part of this is the art style. It's still anime for sure, but it's the small eyes, the variation in face shape, and the variation of features that really makes everything stand out. At this point, before I get any further, I'd like to say that Perfect Blue has some sensitive topics in it, which I'm not going to be talking about. And with this, I want to first take a look at Perfect Blue, often considered to be Satoshi Kon's magnum opus. Yeah, Mima looks like an anime girl, but she doesn't look like a normal late 90s anime. She has so much more form than normal. There's weight here. There's flesh here. It's almost illustrative. Look at Rumi. Look at Tadakoro. Look at Mimania. They're people. The moment when Rumi dives after the wig, we can see a very real obsession taking over Rumi's mind in real time. She breaks, and we feel it. It's horrifying. Earlier in the film, we see her as someone who is concerned and reasonably upset about what the film industry is doing to Mima's image as a pop idol. But here is where we see Rumi's true colors. In the fact that she's clothed in bright red, so bright that it blends in with the color of blood, only helps her look more deranged. In the essay, Torture the Women, A Gaze at the Misogynistic Machinery of Scary Cinema, Perfect Blue's adoption of the male gaze turns the gaze itself into a despicable bastard. Mimania exudes dread. He is used as a criticism of the audience directly. His design is centered around being just outside familiar. To Satoshi Kon, he isn't a human. He's a fan, he's an otaku, he's a symbol of the monstrosity that is idol culture, he's a bringer of fear, but he's not exactly human. He looks just human enough to be a realistic symbol, but just monstrous enough for Kon's social commentary to really shine in Perfect Blue. The next of Kon's films I want to take a look at is Tokyo Godfathers for its absolutely masterful character design work. The movie isn't even horror and doesn't blur memories or reality or dreams. It's just real. It's about real homeless people living in real life. In a dissertation called The Significance of Anime as a Novel Animation Form, referencing selected works by Hayao Miyazaki, Satoshi Kon, and Mamoru Oshii, the three main characters in Tokyo Godfathers are physically unattractive and mentally scarred. His characters face real-life situations where their options to influence events are limited by real-world constraints. This approach is much closer to the live-action cinematic tradition than orthodox animation, where characters transcend the restrictions faced by live action on actors. By having his characters be real people with real issues, he's able to use their character designs to enhance their character traits. In the godly trio, we see Gin, Hana, and Miyuki embody some of the most culturally punished of the Japanese homeless population. Transgender women that are often cast aside, young cisgender women afraid and enraged by society, and homeless men too ashamed of being homeless to go back to the home many of them have. Breadsword's video essay about Tokyo Godfathers goes into great detail, and I highly recommend it, but for the sake of staying on topic, I want to point out the way that Kon's style really makes these already sympathetically human characters even more real. Gin, especially in the scene where he gets beat up, and in scenes where he's frustrated with the rest of the group, has a face that scrunches up. He's drawn with so much force and form, making his outbursts explode across his face. Miyuki, who's commonly in shock or deeply lonely or fighting against those who oppose her, is designed with bigger eyes than some of her other characters. When she sinks into the shadows, her eyes are the first things to do so, really driving this emotion home. But Hana is drawn with so much life. Her faces are drawn with so much motion, so much form, so it's not hard to see that she's the one that got saved by the gust of wind. We see in flashbacks that she was much more glamorous previously, having all her teeth and wearing dresses, and even still, her face just radiates when she's happy, when she's angry, even when she's just talking. These emotions are pushed to their limits, and it works. And this is all because of how much work goes into an art style like this, how much reality goes into art like this. Satoshi Kon's work is real.